All right, welcome to today's class on Dotloop 201. My name is Leah with Scott Leroy Marketing. In today's class, it will be a little more of the advanced Dotloop items. So I'll be assuming that you have worked in Dotloop a little bit in the past, and we'll be going over some tips and the ways that you can make your Dotloop experience a little more effective, a little more efficient to help out with that. Alright, so it is a little more of a faster paced class. If you have not watched the Dotloop 101 video, that can be viewed on slmtraining.com. And of course, if you're watching the class recorded, you can pause it and follow along on your end as well. So the first thing that we'll want to do is, of course, get into our Dotloop account. And the best way to get into Dotloop is by going to mykw.kw.com, which is where I am on my screen here. So that is mykw.kw.com to access your Dotloop account. Okay. And from there, you'll want to go ahead and focus your attention on where it says My Transactions on the top center edge control panel box. Go ahead and click on the blue link that says Start My Transactions to access Dotloop right away. Okay, that is typically the best way to get into your Dotloop account. That should take you into Dotloop without further login and password. You can, of course, go to dotloop.com directly if you prefer to log in that way. That's totally fine as well. And just a heads up, there is a Dotloop mobile app that's great to download on your iPhone or Android device, or if you have an iPad or an Android tablet. You can download that from your Google Play Store or your App Store, and it will allow you to utilize Dotloop on the go. So that's best if you're on the go with your clients and you have your iPad or Android tablet, and you can work with them on the go. So that's a great thing to utilize. Now when logging into Dotloop, just a quick note, you will want to make sure that you see that it says Premium on the top left of your Dotloop account. Okay, if it is just prompting you to upgrade now, that means you are not connected to your Market Center and you do not have access to all of your Market Center forms. If that is the case, if you are not seeing that says Premium on the top left, go ahead and email support@scottleroymarketing.com and let them know, and they can go ahead and get you connected to your Market Center so you can utilize Dotloop right away. All right, so now we are looking at the newer Dotloop homepage. If you've been working with Dotloop for a little while, you may have noticed this transition within the last 3 to 6 months. Okay, it is now finalized that you have to use this Dotloop homepage view. So just a couple things I want to note on the Dotloop homepage is how to organize your Dotloop account. Okay, so as you start to work with a bunch of loops and a bunch of transactions, you're going to need to organize that so you can find your loops as quickly as possible. Alright, so this search bar right here will of course allow you to search through all of your loops by address, title, or MLS number, etc. Alright, so you can find the loop that you're looking for right away. Now for any reason, if you can't find the loop that you're looking for, that does actually happen quite a bit, okay, and that is just controlled by the filters right here. Sorry, I clicked that a little soon. So you'll see it says filters on the right hand side. Let's go ahead and click on that. Alright, so these filters here, a couple things to note. So archived, you cannot delete anything in your Dotloop account. So if you're having a hard time finding your loop, the good news is it's not deleted, it's not gone, it can't be deleted, but it can be archived. So archiving it is essentially hiding that from your Dotloop homepage. All right, so we can help those stay organized. And I'll be showing you how to do that in just a moment here. But you'll notice it says hide archived, or if you would like to only view your archived, if you're trying to find a loop, or all of your loops archived and not archived. Okay, you can select that here and then you can click apply. So how you go about archiving your loops in order to stay organized. So let's say a loop fell through, all right, it terminated unfortunately, and it's archived. All right, you don't need to view that anymore. You will notice it just has an archive option on the front of the loop now. So if you don't have any loops, you can just watch on my screen. But see, I have this archive option right here. When I click that, it turns it gray and notes that it's archived. Okay, that will not just disappear. You'll have to refresh your page, or I can now come up to filters. All right, make sure that my archive loops are hidden. All right, and then when I click apply, that will disappear. So I'll refresh so you guys can see that. All right, and so now I don't have my archive loops there. All right, archiving your loops that you don't need to see is a great way to organize your Dotloop homepage. All right. Another great way to organize your Dotloop homepage is looking at the statuses. So back on filters, and I just clicked on that filters button. You will note that there are loop statuses. So if you can scroll down slightly, you'll see loop statuses, and I do want to talk about this for just a moment here, as this is a great way to organize your Dotloop homepage. So your loop statuses here, typically you want to have these checked. So typically you'll want to check everything here, except we don't want to see our sold loops typically. We don't want to see our done loops. All right, we'll select everything else. We generally don't need to see our withdrawn or terminated loops either, okay? So these, we're checking the loops we do want to see and leaving unchecked the ones we don't. We don't regularly need to see our sold, withdrawn, terminated, and done loops, okay? So you can check all of those and leave the ones we do not want to see unchecked and click Apply on the bottom here. Okay, and that will toggle your Dotloop home screen by those statuses. Now your next logical question might be, okay, great, well how do I control which status my loop has? And that is actually right on the front of my loop now. So you'll notice that, let's say on this loop right here, all right, so I have to select the type. So you'll have to select the loop type before you can select loop status. So under type here where it says none, I can go ahead and change that to whatever the type of loop it may be, whether that's a listing for sale or purchase or so forth. Okay, you can select that here. Once I select a loop type, I will then have the option to select the status. So I can then change the status to one of the options that we were just looking at. Okay, so whatever may apply to this loop, right, if it has sold or terminated and you don't want to see that on your Dotloop homepage, I can go ahead and click sold. Let's say if I don't need to see this loop regularly, it's sold. All right, so then again, since I have those filters set up to not show my sold loops, I can refresh my page. If you're not familiar with how to refresh your page, that is the arrow in a circle that's typically on the top left of your browser next to the back button. All right, so if you refresh your page there, it will get rid of your sold loops. Okay, but of course, if you ever need to see that again, you can come right back up to filters, select that you would like to see sold, or you can even clear all of your filters here. Okay, so if you clear all those out, it will make all of your loops display no matter what the status may be. Okay, so just a tip on how to control the organization of your Dotloop homepage. As you start to have lots of loops and lots of transactions, you'll definitely need to be doing that so you can find your loops effectively and efficiently. Okay. Just a couple more notes on how to sort your Dotloop homepage. You will notice this comes in handy a whole lot. You have a sort option here, and you can control how your loops are sorted, like which ones are first, second, and so forth. So you can control that by creation date, last updated, okay, and you can see a whole bunch of different options here. My personal favorite is last updated because that will put the loop that you have last worked in at the very top of your screen. Okay, that's the most pertinent loop that you need to keep going back in. All right, so if you select that sort option, you might wonder what that arrow is on the right-hand side. That will sort it by ascending or descending order, depending on what sort option you have. So you can always control that here, ascending and descending. Okay. And last but not least, we do have this last icon on the far right here, and that will show you which view of Dotloop that you're looking at. And actually, we have a new view here that I haven't seen, so we'll explore that today. So the grid view is what we're looking at here. So you'll see that's kind of like in squares. Okay, grid view, viewing it this way. You also have a list view, which will show you all of your loops in a list form as well. All right, from what I've seen, those two options, they have all the same features, so you can control the transaction type and status and archive that all from here as well. Okay, so list view and grid view, whichever one that you feel most comfortable is totally fine with, totally up to you. And this is a brand new one, so let's take a look at this compact view. Interesting. All right, so now we have a compact view as well to show all your loops. It will show you essentially more loops on one page, it looks like, and give you some options here at the type, status, closing, tags, and so forth. All right, and you have the option to archive it by clicking these three dots as well. So however you would like to view your Dotloop homepage is totally up to you. You can always toggle back and forth using this icon on the very top right to utilize that right away. All right, and I do want to point out this texting feature that Dotloop also has. This is a newer feature, again, within the last, I want to say 3 months, it might have been 6, time is flying. But you'll notice a little tab on the left-hand side that has this speech bubble. If I click on that, I'll be able to utilize a text feature. So if I would like to text anyone, now the main benefit of this is that it stores all your text messages within Dotloop so you can track that. Okay, if you need to, keep records of your text messages, this is a great way to do that. So to compose a new text message, I would click on the little pencil on the top right there. We'll then pull up your contact, so you can enter the name of your contact here or a phone number. All right, so I can enter in a phone number and click next. And it will bring you to compose. Now something I just want to point out to you, this does text from a different number than your normal mobile phone number. Okay, so you could text something like, whatever, hi, I am going to be sending over the contract shortly. All right, and you can click send, and it will send a text to your client. All right, and then when they respond, it will respond back here and to your cell phone. So you'll have a record on both your text messaging and your and in Dotloop here of their response. So you can see that both ways, and that way Dotloop is recording that. I would definitely recommend trying that out on your phone first, so put in your phone number here or your spouse's phone number, whoever, so you can see what it looks like when your clients receive a response and how it works back and forth, okay? That's always my suggestion in Dotloop. Try it on yourself first before utilizing it on your clients. Okay, pretty nifty feature there, a newer thing to try out. And I just clicked on that X right here to make that scroll back in so we can view our Dotloop home screen. I do go over in the Dotloop 101 video what all these items are on the top right here, so if you want more info on that, feel free to check out Dotloop 101 class on slmtraining.com. But for now, let's go ahead and click Add Loop on the top right, this blue button here, to get going on a new loop right away. Okay, so I click that Add Loop on the top right to start a new loop. Now loop name, so it's really great to have a practice loop in your account, like I said, so you can practice on the different Dotloop features. So if you want to name this 123 practice loop or 123 Main Street, your home address, whatever you'd like to name it. Okay, I do just want to point out a couple different things. When you start typing in a property address, you may have noticed that there are different suggestions that display. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about what this does. All right, so let's say I am the buyer's agent and I am trying to make an offer on this listing right here. Okay, I know it's this correct listing because I can see the listing agent's name, I can see the MLS number on the side if they have that entered in, and so forth. Now what it would do if I click on this loop here, it does a couple things. So first of all, it would link up my loop to the listing agent's loop, all right, in a completely privatized way. Okay, but what it would do is it would pull over all the public information that this listing agent has entered into their loop, so all the property information that, again, is only public, okay, so it won't pull over private information, but it will pull over any public information into my loop so that it will autofill on all of my forms. So it saves me a lot of time because it will autofill all the property details and property information onto my forms for me. Okay, so that's one thing it does. It pulls over property information to autofill my forms. The second thing that selecting that does, sorry, I need to click on that. The second thing that clicking on one of these options does is it will link, like I mentioned, it links up my loop to that other agent's. So if you've been utilizing Dotloop for a little while, you might have noticed a situation where if you receive an offer on a property that you listed, you get a whole nother loop in your Dotloop account for the same property. Okay, so now you have your loop that you created, and you have the agent that submitted an offer, their loop in your Dotloop account. Okay, that's very confusing, having two loops for the same property. All right, so this gets rid of the two loop situation. So if I were to select this loop here as a buyer's agent, when I go to make an offer on this listing, it will put that offer in this listing agent's loop directly in a new folder. Okay, so it won't create a whole nother loop in that listing agent's .loop account. It will just put the offer directly in their existing loop. All right, so it's a great feature. Not a lot of agents utilize it, all right, but feel free to check that out. It's really, really useful to avoid the two loop situation. So that being said, let me know if you have any questions on that. I know that's a lot of info all at once, but let's go ahead and create the property. Okay, you can just put in any address here, 123 practice loop, whatever you'd like it to be. and click continue on the bottom right. From there, it will take me into the loop templates. So these loop templates are really handy. What it would do is it would pull in all the initial forms that you need to get started on your loop based on whatever criteria it is, if this is a listing loop or sales loop. These are added by your office staff, so if you do not have loop templates, there's nothing wrong with your account. Your office just does not utilize those. If you do have loop templates, though, I would highly suggest utilizing them. It's a great time saver. Select whichever one applies, and it will, again, bring in all the initial forms that you need to get going on your loop so you don't have to go looking for those. Okay, I'm not going to select those, so we're all on the same page, and click continue on the bottom right. All right, this is an optional step in creating a new loop, but you can upload a photo of the listing or home that you're working with to the top of the loop. Dotloop says that if you take the time to add a new photo here, your clients are 5 times more likely to utilize you again or refer you out because they feel like, wow, this agent created my own personalized website to sign my forms. Okay, so it is worth the time it takes to add that in. The first step would be you need to have the photo saved to your computer of the home. So if your clients are purchasing a home, you can go to the MLS, save a photo of the home to your computer. That would be the first step. Or if you're listing the home, you might have it professionally photographed. So once I do that and have the photo on my computer, I can go ahead and click upload a photo here. You can just watch this on my screen if you would like. You can search for that photo on your computer. Double click on it, and it will pull in a photo or the photo of the home that I selected. All right, that maybe they're really excited about purchasing this home and now they get to see that every time they sign a form. All right, it's not very customizable. You can't control which sliver of the photo it displays. You can't really crop it. It is what it is, all right, but it will add a little banner for you and you can click done on the bottom right. Right, and it will take its time to upload a photo here and let you know that has been finished. So we went through the 4 steps to create a loop. And now you can simply click on this loop right here, or you can click View Loop on the bottom right to access that loop right away. And that will take me into my loop here. Okay. So now that I'm in my loop, the first thing I'll want to do is add the people to the loop so they can electronically sign. So first thing I'm going to do is scroll on down to the people section here. I'm going to click add person. Okay, and just a quick note, you will always see your admin in your loop. That's a good thing. They do compliance on your loop so that you can get paid, which is why we do this whole real estate thing, I think. All right, and you'll also see yourself in every loop. Please make sure you note what your Dotloop email address is. Okay, if an agent on the other side is sharing a form with you, they need to share it to this email address specifically. Okay, so it's really important that they share that form to this email address or you will not see that in your Dotloop account. So let's go ahead and add our client, and we'll do that by clicking add person on the top right here, that red button. And there's 3 main things that we'll need to put in for our client: their full name, email address, and role. So if you want to go ahead and put in John Smith or your favorite movie character, all right, feel free to go ahead and put that in. You can put in your spouse's name, whoever you would like to be your client for today's class. And I'm going to have Tony Stark purchase a home or list a home with me for any Iron Man fans. All right, email address. I would highly suggest putting in a personal email address of yours, so one that is not connected to your Dotloop account, just so you can play around with this and see what your clients see when you share a form with them. Okay, that's always handy. And the third thing that we'll need is a role. So on the right-hand side here, this is very, very important, you will need to give your client a role of seller or buyer or so forth. Right? They will not be able to electronically sign the form without having a role. So it's super important that you assign a role. So let's say in this case, I'll work with a listing, so this is a seller. Okay. It will then pop down a bunch of different options that you can also fill in. If you do take the time to fill in this information, it will autofill any forms you bring into this loop with your client's information. Okay, so it does benefit you to add that in, but it's not required. And let's talk quickly about this add to my team feature. All right, if you are taking notes in today's class, please jot down to never, ever, ever click this checkbox here if you are adding your client to the loop, okay? So what this checkbox does, if you click add to my team, it would allow your client to see everything in your loop that you can see. We of course don't want that. All right? The general concept of Dotloop is everything is private in your loop until it is manually shared to them. Right? So you really only want your client to be able to see what you choose to share with them. So we never click add to my team for a client. However, let's talk about when we would utilize this feature. It's a really cool feature, so let's talk about when to utilize that. So if you are working on the same side of a transaction with another agent in your office, so you're co-listing a property together, let's say. So emphasis on you are on the same side of the transaction. You could add that agent to this loop and click add to my team, and it would put this loop in that other agent's Dotloop account as well, so that you can collaborate on the transaction together. So you can work together, that agent will be able to see everything and do everything in the loop that you can do. Right? Or another time to use it, if you're on a real estate team and you have a team admin, you could add that team admin to every loop, click add to my team, and that team admin will be able to help you with every transaction. So really cool feature, just not for your clients. All right, so let's go ahead and click add person on the bottom right here, excuse me. To add that person to your loop. Okay, and you can repeat that process, click add person again in order to add, let's say, a spouse or whoever else needs to sign this paperwork here. On the three drop-down dots on the far right here of the client's name, if you need to edit their contact information for any reason, like if you added in their email address incorrectly, you can click edit there and it would allow you to edit their contact information. You can go back and add them to the team later. Okay, so again, that's that checkbox we were just talking about, that whole little spiel I gave. All right, introduce. So like I mentioned, everything is private in your loop until it is shared. So if you add multiple people to the loop, so if you add your mortgage provider, let's say, to the loop, they can't see each other. So your client would not be able to see the mortgage provider in the loop unless you introduce them. Okay, if you introduce them, let's say your mortgage provider and the client, they would then be able to interact within the loop as well. All right, and you can, of course, remove them as well from here if needed. All right, last thing to do in this people section, we need to assign ourselves a role. So if you need to electronically sign any paperwork, which generally you at least need to sign buyer agency or the listing agreement, let's go ahead and change where it says none to whatever your role may be. So let's say buying agent or listing agent. So in this case, I'm going to select listing agent because I am working on a listing. All right, and real quick, guys, let me go ahead and give you the notes I have on today's class. Let me shoot those out just so you have those. All right, so if you're working on this later, here is a link to notes that would overview how to start a loop and tips and tricks just written out if you prefer to view it that way. If you're watching this class recorded and would like those Dotloop notes, feel free to email me at support@scottleroymarketing.com. You can put attention my name, which is Leah, L-E-A-H. I'd be happy to shoot those over to you. All right, so now let's scroll up to the top of our screen to the document section. All right, this is where we spend most of our time working in our Dotloop account in this document section. Let's talk about folders. So you'll at least have one folder in your loop here. If you selected a loop template, you might have more than one in there. Folders are a great way to stay organized in each transaction. Okay, as you know, there are about 1,000,001 forms that go into each transaction. So having them all put under one folder is very overwhelming to find the form that you're looking for quickly, and it makes it really hard for your office staff who does compliance on your loops to find the forms that they're looking for. All right, so let's talk about folders real quick, and we'll set up a couple folders here so you can see the best way to use folders in your Dotloop account. All right, so first of all, we have at least one folder here, and you'll see three drop-down dots on the far right. where we have different options, and let's go ahead and select rename. Okay, so 3 drop-down dots on the far right of the folder name. We'll click rename. And since we're working on a listing, you'll want to have 3 folders typically. So I can see that I have the little cursor blinking to the left side of the word folder. So I can just type in the word listing right before that. And I can either click enter on my keyboard or click in the white margin here to make that stick. All right, so that's the first folder that we'll want to have, and you'll want to have all the paperwork that goes into the listing of the property under that folder. So like your listing agreement, maybe the measurements of the house, property disclosures signed just by the seller, and so forth. All right, we'll want to click on add folder on the top right here. Okay, so you'll see an add folder option. And we'll give you a new folder here. So I see the cursor blinking to the left side of the word new. So I can use the arrows on my keyboard or click, whichever you prefer, to tab to the right side of the word new and backspace. And let's go ahead, I'm going to name that sales folder. All right, and all the documents that go into the contract of the property will go into the sales folder. So that'll be things like the fully executed contract, fully executed property disclosures, and so forth. And I can click enter on my keyboard or click in the white margin to make that stick. And last but not least, let's go ahead and add just one more folder here. We'll click add folder on the top right. We'll repeat this process, tab to the right side of the word new, and add our favorite folder, the closing folder. Okay, and this will have all of the paperwork that goes into the closing of the property, like closing disclosure, termite letter, and whatever various documents you need added in, and you can click enter. All right, so these are the 3 main folders that you'll need when listing a property. If you are representing the buyer, you would just have a sales folder and a closing folder instead. All right, and your office staff might have different checklists of all the paperwork that you'll need in each respective folder, right? And maybe even folder ideas that they want you to have. So check in with your office staff. Each office has different policies on how they want you to set that up to make their lives easier. All right, another note on when you would want to use folders. So if, let's say, you're representing, you're working on a contract and the contract falls through. We hate that. But if a contract falls through, what you would do is you could rename the folder. So let's say this sales folder falls through. I could rename this folder, terminated sales folder. And then I could add a new folder on the top right once I have a new contract and rename that to, the new contract information to keep the paperwork separate. Okay, we want to keep that contract and paperwork separate, of course. Now, a quick note on that. Let's talk about if a contract falls through, how to handle that. So if you are representing a listing, so you're representing the seller, all right, and the contract falls through, you can do just what I said. So you would rename one folder, the terminated sales folder, and add a new folder and rename that folder new contract and the new buyer's names, let's say. Okay, so if you're again representing the seller, you can keep the same loop and start a new folder for the new contract. All right, but here's where it gets fun. So if you were representing the buyer, all right, so Dotloop is dependent on the property address here. So all the information in the loop is dependent on the property specifically. All right, so if you're representing the buyer and you put a contract in on a specific property and that contract falls through, all right, you will then need to create another loop in your Dotloop account, all right, with the new contract information because it's a totally new property. So again, you have a loop depending on the property address, not depending on the client. So again, if a contract terminates and you're representing the buyer, you would create a new loop and add all the new paperwork to that loop instead. And I'll be showing you in just a second here how to copy over any paperwork, so let's say the buyer agency agreement, to the new loop. It's very easy to copy over to another loop to do that, okay? So just a quick note on how to handle terminated offers there. All right, so let's get to the fun stuff of adding a document to our loop. So you can click Add Document to the far right of any of your folder names here, and you'll see 3 blue boxes display. Okay, let's go ahead and select this first blue box, the templates, where we're adding an interactive form by selecting one from templates. So these are forms that we can just straight up type in. So I'll go ahead and select that first blue box. And it will pull up all the listing or all the folders on the left-hand side. And these folders are added in by your office staff. So your folders will look different than mine, depending on what market center you're in. So I'm going to pull in a listing agreement. If you would like to follow along and grab a listing agreement, just go ahead and select the form folder on the left-hand side that you believe would have a listing agreement in it. It will then pull up all the forms in that folder. So I can use the search bar at the top to search for, let's say, the word listing. Okay, whatever your form is called in your area. All right, once I do that, I can go ahead and click the checkbox to the left of whichever form I need to bring in. And I can click copy on the bottom right here. Okay, so just to overview those steps for you. All right, we first select the form folder on the left-hand side in red. We then use the search bar on the top of our screen here to search for whatever form you're looking for. You can then click the checkbox to the left of the form name that you would like to bring in and click copy. And again, if you're not sure on what forms you need to be bringing into your loop, check with your office staff. They might have checklists written out of the form names that you need in your loop to be in compliance. Okay, and that will help you find the form more easily if you know the form name. All right, and we'll click copy on the bottom right here to pull that into our loop. I can click OK. All right, and voila, we have that form in our loop here. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and click on that real quick to do a couple things. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that form name to open that up right away. And when you do so, you'll see this autofill box display. This autofill box is our best friend, so never X out of it. All right, really important box here. So for seller 1, go ahead and make sure that you see your client's name in line with seller 1, okay, or buyer 1 if you have a buyer form here. If you do not see your client's name here, they will not be able to electronically sign. Okay, I can't stress this enough. It is super important that you see your client's name in line with their role. Hey, if you need to add a second seller here that you didn't know about previously, you can go ahead and click select person and either click on their name from the list or click on add person right there to add in that second person's information. Okay, if you need to add them to the loop. And you want to make sure that your name is in line with your role as well. Okay, roles are super, super important if you want to be able to electronically sign. All right, any information that we enter in here will autofill onto this form and every future form that you pull into this loop. All right, so if you would like to go ahead and add in any information here, you can. All right, alternatively, you can also search by the address or MLS number. Okay, that's kind of what I was talking about when we were initially creating the loop. It will search Dotloop and Google, for that matter, to pull in all the property detail information that is public to autofill this for you to save you some time. Okay, and it will also link you up with that agent's Dotloop account if you're trying to make an offer on a listing. Okay, so that's a great tool to use. All right, but you can fill in any of this information here. All right, but as I scroll down, we'll want to go ahead and scroll to the bottom and click autofill. All right, so we're clicking autofill here. And you'll see that some of the fields have turned yellow. Okay, that is telling me that the field has been autofilled. Okay, so you'll see, I just want to point out that it's as easy as clicking to start typing in these fields, right? This is an interactive Dotloop form, so you can just click to start typing. And I go over in detail in the Dotloop 101 class how to fill out this form and get it electronically signed and share it. So feel free to check that out on slmtraining.com, the Dotloop 101 video. All right, but what I really want to show you in today's class is an extra tip I don't go over in that class, and that is hovering over the More button on the top black toolbar. Let's talk about host in person signing. Okay, so general concept of Dotloop is you type up the entire form, you click share on the top right, and it will send it to your client's email address so they can electronically sign it from their email account. Okay, and that's an awesome feature, of course. However, let's say you're on a listing appointment and you're filling out the form on your computer and your client is sitting right next to you. Wouldn't it be nice if you can just pass your computer over to them once you're done filling it out so they can sign it right next to you from your computer? Well, that's exactly what the host in person signing option does. So the first step is you would want to go through the entire form first to fill out all fields, okay, before doing this, because once your client signs the form, right, if you try and change something on the form itself, it will erase all their signatures because it thinks they didn't sign for that, which makes sense. It's just a pain, okay? So make sure you fill out the entire form first with all the information. Then you could come up to More, and just watch this on my screen if you would, and click Host in Person Signing here. Okay, it will ask you if you'd like to save, so I'll click Yes. Okay, so it will then ask you if you would like to, who you would like to host in person sign. So if you have multiple clients, their, the spouse's name would be here as well, so you can select that. And you can then click Continue. Once you click Continue, it will say, okay, please pass the device over to Tony Stark so they can electronically sign. All right, and you can pass that over, they electronically sign the form, and your client gives it back to you. Right. The biggest thing that you guys need to know is once your client is signing the form, what it does is it signs you out of your Dotloop account and signs your client into their free Dotloop account so that it can electronically sign. So when you get the device back, when you get your computer back, you'll be logged out of your Dotloop account. So if you need to go back and do additional items in your Dotloop account, you'll have to re-log in. Okay, I just don't want you to be caught off guard by that and not look like you know what you're doing. So you will need to log back into your Dotloop account after doing host in person signing. All right, so this is one of those things that's good to practice before doing in front of your client. All right, but very nifty tool there. Again, you can go to More on the top black toolbar to do host in person signing to try that out. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and click the back button on the top left here. Okay, it's kind of hard to see. It's a back arrow in red to the left of the form name there. And again, if you want more information on filling out the interactive templates, check out the Dotloop 101 video on slmtraining.com, and it will take you in much more detail on that section here. All right, but let's talk about now a make a copy feature. Now, I did mention earlier that if you're representing a buyer and the contract terminates, that you'll have to create a whole new loop, all right, and move over, let's say, the buyer agency or whatever forms will still apply to that new loop, okay? So that is one thing that this make a copy feature does. And how we do that is we click on the 3 drop-down dots on the far right and click make a copy. So there's 2 main things that this feature does, both very cool, very useful. And so let's go ahead and click on that so I can tell you more about what the feature does and show you that firsthand. So again, click the 3 drop-down dots to the far right of the form name specifically that you're trying to copy. And then you'll see make a copy. Okay, and we have 2 options here. So copy as a Dotloop document, that's the option you'll want to do if you're copying that over to like the buyer agency agreement to a new loop, like I was just talking about, if the offer terminates, let's say. All right. There's another great use for this feature as well, and that is copy as a flat PDF. So let's go ahead and click on that and let me tell you when you would use this feature. All right, so if you are just trying to make a small change to a form. So I did mention just a moment ago that if you have a fully executed document and you try and make a change to that document, it will erase all your client's signatures because it thinks they didn't sign for that, right? So if you just need to make a small change to a form, you can copy it as a flat PDF, and you'll see these beautiful keywords, signatures preserved. All right, so that means that you can make changes to documents and it will preserve the signatures. It will not erase the signatures. All right, so I promise this will make more sense once we act this out here. So go ahead and select that second option here that says copy as flat PDF. Okay, if you don't do this part, I'll lose you for a little bit. So make sure you go ahead and select that second dot there. And we're selecting to loop on the bottom right. All right, it will then pop up this box here that's searching all of your loops. All right, so you'll search your Dotloop account for the loop that you are currently in. Okay, so this is the loop I'm currently in, so you can search it by 123 Practice Street or whatever you named your loop for today's class. And you would then click on that loop to make the folders display. All right, so I have my 3 folders I have created. And I'll go ahead and click on the folder that I would like to copy that form to. All right, and just to make this not confusing, I'm going to put it in the sales folder here. So it's in a different folder. And I'll click copy. All right, it will let me know once that's completed and I can click OK. All right, so I can now see that has been copied over. And let's go ahead and click on the one we copied just so we can see the difference between the two. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and click on that new one that's in the sales folder to open that up. All right, and I will now see that it is a PDF, meaning I can't just click to start typing, right? You remember how in the previous form we were working on, I could just click to start typing in any fields. Well, this is a PDF, so it will not allow you to just start typing in any field, okay? The good thing about this is now all the signatures are preserved, so they can't get erased, but I can go ahead and make edits to this form without it erasing my signatures. So let's take a look at how to edit the form here. All right, so what you would do is come up to this Add option on the top black toolbar. All right, so we're clicking Add on the top black toolbar, and let's go ahead and add a strike through. Okay, so we are adding a strike through. So we're going to cross out the information that we need to edit. So in this case, I'm going to pretend that I put in my client's name as Tony Stark while he legally signs as Anthony Stark, okay, with his legal name. So I'm going to go ahead and lay the strike through wherever I need to, and I click to drop it. Okay. I will then come back up to add, and I can come up and I can add any of these features that we see here. So let's say I now need to add text. So I click add text, and it will start following my mouse. All right, and I can line it up wherever I would like it and click to drop that. Just a heads up, if you are using an iPad or a tablet or a touchscreen computer, it will not follow your mouse, the field, but you can just click to drop that. All right, so I now have this text box that always drops very small. Okay, not a whole lot of text would fit in there. So to expand that further, I can go ahead and hover my mouse over the little right triangle on the bottom right. And when I do that, my mouse will turn into an arrow, a diagonal arrow, which I can click to drag to make it bigger. Okay, so I can make that whatever size I would like it to be. And then I will just start typing in the correct information. Okay, so now, of course, any changes that you make to a signed document that has to be initialed by your clients. All right, so I would come up to Add on the top black toolbar. And now I want to add initials. All right, so it'll then start following my mouse. So I can click to drop that. Now, if you've been working with PDFs and Dotloop for a little while, okay, just a quick tip, if you need to lay more than one field at a time, if I hold Shift on my keyboard and then click it, it will then allow me to lay a second one, okay, without having to go back up to Add. So if you need to lay more than one initial box at a time, for example, hold Shift on your keyboard and then click, and it will then allow you to lay a second one. Okay. Just a note there. If you accidentally lay one, so let's say I accidentally added one to the middle of my form here, you can always just select the field you would like to delete and X out of it. Okay, you'll see a little X on the top black toolbar to remove that right away. Okay, just a couple tips on laying fields. We do have to do one more step. So your client will not be able to electronically sign the field until you assign the field to them. And that's a little hidden here. So assigning the field. So go ahead and click on the initial box. And you'll need to click Assign Field for them to electronically sign. Okay, remember how important assigning roles are. We have to assign the field here. This is an extra step that you have to do on these PDFs. So when I click Assign Field, or what did I click? Assign Field, yes. It will then show me this drop down where I can go ahead and select the client's name from that drop-down, and I will see his initials entered in. Now, just a heads up, as I'm sure you know, if I were to print out this form, this field would be blank, okay? This TS is not indicating that the field has been signed. It is just indicating that it is set up correctly for my client to be able to electronically sign it. So it's really important that you see your client's initials in print for them to be able to electronically sign the field. Okay, just a quick note on that. So now I'd be able to click Save and Share on the top right, send this over to my client so that they could electronically sign the change that I made. All right, let's talk about some other uses of editing PDFs. All right, so let's say that you are working with an agent on the other side that does not utilize Dotloop, and they sent you a contract via Dotloop that, they sent you a contract in your email. It's just attached as a PDF, and you need to add that to your Dotloop account so that you can add initial boxes to the bottom of the field so your clients can electronically sign that. Okay, so how you would do that, how you would edit the PDF, and I'll be showing you in just a moment here how you can add forms from your email account as well. But at the bottom of the form that you're working with, you'll see initial boxes, all right, depending on your form. I know it looks a little different than mine. But you can come up to add, and we can add initials from here again to add the initial boxes all the way down the form here. Okay, again, to add multiple at a time, you can hold Shift before clicking and then click to drop that. Don't forget that you would always have to assign each field to your client so they can electronically sign that. Okay, and you would just have to go down the entire form and add initial boxes to each required area for them to be able to electronically sign, and then assign the role to them. Okay, so it is a manual process, but again, that's how you would go about adding fields, let's say initial boxes or signature boxes, to the form so you can share it to your client to electronically sign. And this is only if it is a PDF. So again, let's say if the agent on the other side of the transaction sends you a contract that needs to be signed by your clients, and you need to add it to Dotloop and have them sign it. Okay. So let me know if you have any questions on that. But for now, let's go ahead and click on Back on the top left here. All right, and again, that back button is a little hard to see. All right, it's a back arrow in red to the left of the form name. It will ask you if you would like to save. You can click yes. If it asks you if you want to share the form, you can click no. All right, and I just want to send over, while we're on this topic, this make a copy feature, right, that we just worked with. So that is copying forms from either one loop to another or copying it as a PDF. Okay, I know that was a lot of information. So that's a 10-minute video that focuses on the make a copy feature. So you can save that video and watch it whenever you need to utilize that tool. All right. So let's talk about different ways to add in forms to your loop. All right, so we would want to go ahead and click in Add Document to the far right of the folder name that we want to add the form to. And we discussed adding from templates, right? That is adding an interactive form, one that you can just start typing in. But we have two other ways to add forms to your loop that I want to talk about, show you in today's class before wrapping up. All right, and one being the Browse feature. Okay, so I was just talking about that if an agent on the other side sends you a contract via Dotloop, okay, it's in your email, you save that PDF to your computer, and now you need to add it to your loop. Okay, that's one scenario of when you would use this. Okay, let's talk about a different scenario. Let's talk about, let's say your clients are not a big fan of electronic signatures. They just don't trust it. Or let's say you're not a big fan of technology and you just want to be able to take the paperwork on your appointment, have them hand sign the form, okay, and then upload it to your loop after you do that. All right. So just a quick note on that, you can print out any forms by clicking on the three drop-down dots to the far right of the form name and clicking Print. Okay, you can also do that from File if you're looking at the form itself. All right, so step one, I have the entire sales folder, let's say, in my hand. So I have all the paperwork in my hand. I would scan that to my computer and save it on my computer, okay, wherever you save that. All right, step two is I would then come into my loop and click Browse. Okay, we clicked Add Document to the far right, the folder I'd like to add that to, and click Browse. Okay, this is browsing your computer, so you can add the PDF that you saved to your computer into your loop. I'm going to search for wherever that might be. So I have the offer saved to my computer, so I can double click on that to pull that into my loop right away. Okay. There's also an option to drag and drop it. So if you feel pretty comfortable with technology and you prefer to drag and drop, you can also go to your files, find the file, and drag and drop that in from here. You should go to it so I can show you. So I could then click to drag and drop, and you'll see it turns green. So I can drop that in right away. Okay, so that is the same exact thing as clicking browse here, or dragging and dropping effectively does the same thing. Okay, and that's how you can pull in PDFs to your loop. Just a heads up, you can only pull PDFs into your loop. So if you have a picture file, I see that happen a lot with earnest money checks. Let's say you take a picture of the earnest money check and need to add it to your loop. Okay, it does not accept picture files. It only accepts PDFs. So if that is the case, if you have a picture file you need to add to your loop, just if you Google JPEG to PDF converter, and JPEG is JPG, all right, JPEG to PDF converter, it will pull up a bunch of free converters that you can use on Google that you can convert the picture file to a PDF, so you can add that to your loop right away. If you have any trouble with that, feel free to email us at support@scottleroymarketing.com. We'd be happy to convert the file for you or send you a converter to use to help out with that. Okay, so only PDFs allowed in Dotloop. And you can always archive, so I'm going to archive one of these because I have two of the same file now. So I can click on the three drop-down dots to the far right of that file name to click archive, and that will archive the document from my loop so that it no longer displays. Okay, so if you have duplicates of the same document that you need to archive, or if you were practicing with one, or if an offer falls through, whatever the reason may be, you can archive that by clicking on the three drop-down dots to the far right, and you have archive. Like I mentioned earlier, there's no deleting anything from Dotloop, so if you need to get that back, you can always come up to Show Archived on the top right of your loop, and it will show you that archived document right away. Okay, that Show Archived option only displays once you've archived something in your loop. If you're not seeing that, that's why. All right, so let's talk about one last way that you can add documents to your loop, and this is my personal favorite. So if I click on Add Document to the far right here of the folder name, it does give you an email option as well. Okay, so let me tell you when you would utilize this one. So it does say attach the files you need to an email and send them directly into this folder. So again, similar situation, the agent on the other side of the transaction who does not utilize Dotloop sends you an email with the attached offer to purchase, let's say, on the email. So it's a PDF in your email, and you need to quickly get that attached PDF from your email account right into your loop. Okay, this is the fastest way to do that. So what I'm going to do is click on this email option. You can just watch on my screen if you would like. Okay, so I have this email option here. So I'll go ahead and click on email, and it will generate this crazy long Dotloop email address that is specific to this folder in this loop. So what I would do is click copy to clipboard, and it will copy this crazy long email address here, and I can go into my email. Okay, so I'm in my email here, and I would open up the email that I have from that other agent that has the attached offer to purchase. Okay, it's a PDF. So what I would do now to get that over to my loop is I would forward this email. Okay, if you're using your KW Gmail, you would forward it by clicking on the three drop-down dots on the top right and click forward. You can do this from whatever email system you use. You just have to forward the email that has the attachment on it. And in the To field, I would right-click to paste that in. Okay, so in the To field, I am pasting in that crazy long Dotloop email address that we copied, and I would click send. Okay, and what Dotloop is going to do is it will ignore all the verbiage in the email itself and only email in the attachment. And the attachment has to be a PDF, like I was talking about. All right, so it has now been forwarded to that crazy long email address, and I can go back to my loop. All right, that form will not just automatically display. You will need to refresh your page. It generally takes about 20 to 30 seconds for that to come over. And then you would refresh your page by clicking on the arrow in a circle on the top left. And there we have it. We have the emailed offer to purchase, so that was the attachment on that email that I forwarded over. Okay, and I know that was a couple steps there. All right, so here is a video on, I'm going to send out a video on that exactly, the emailing into Dotloop. Okay, so you can email directly into your loop in that video. There's also one other way that you can email into Dotloop. Okay, you can email into the template section of your loop. So feel free to check that video, and that will show you that exactly. All right, and let's actually go ahead and visit that so I can show you quickly where else you can email into Dotloop, and then we'll wrap up today's class. So let's go ahead and click on the templates icon on the very top right black toolbar. So you'll see a templates icon. Looks like 2 sheets of paper. If you hover your mouse over it, it will pop up letting you know it's the templates. And one other place that you can email into Dotloop is into your inbox here. So if you've never emailed into Dotloop, it probably won't be showing you an inbox here. I don't believe it shows it until you've actually emailed into Dotloop. And where you go to email into your inbox is this email address here. So you will see it says upload files by emailing to this email address. So let's talk about when we'd want to use this method. So if you are on the go and you receive an email with the attached form that you need, let's say attached offer again, you're on the go, you can save this email address to your contacts in your email so that you can quickly just forward that email that you get to this Dotloop email address here, and it will put it in your inbox here for your Dotloop account. So let's walk through that. So again, I would come up to my email, and let's say I'm on the go. I get this email of the contract from the other agent. I'm going to go ahead and forward that to my Dotloop email address. Okay. Now I can click send. All right, so the next time, so I did that on the go. I was on my phone. I just forwarded that quickly because I can save that email address to my contacts in my phone or on my email. So now when I get back to my computer, all right, I'll go into my Dotloop account, and I will have in my inbox that PDF that I emailed in. Okay, so I see the date, April 11th, 2019, today's date. That's when I emailed in this PDF here. So now it's in my Dotloop inbox, and I got here by clicking on the templates on the top right. So now what I can do is I can easily add this form over to my loop. Okay, so what I can do from here is I would then go to my loop. So if I click on the smiley face with no eyes icon, okay, that's just what I think it looks like, right? The loops icon on the very top of your screen. You can then go into the loop that you need to add that document to. So this is the loop we've been working on in today's class. So then to add in that document that we just emailed in, I would come to add document on the far right of the folder name. I'll add it to this one. I would go to templates, right, because this is the same icon as we see up here, just to draw that full circle. So that is the same method. So we're accessing the templates from that blue box. I then see my inbox here, and I can see the form that I emailed in, right? I can see the date I emailed it in, so I know it's the correct form. Click copy on the bottom right, and OK. And it pulls in that form right away, so I can have that in my loop. Okay, so those are 2 different ways that you can email into Dotloop, and that video that I sent out will walk you through those, okay, so that you can pause it and follow along. Okay, I know that's a couple steps for both methods there. So that video I sent out will allow you to pause it and practice it on your end as well. Really useful tip to use on the go, for sure. And the last couple videos I want to send out to you guys just so you have it. This is a really cool feature that Dotloop offers on form templates. So what you can do, just to overview what that is real quick for you, and then I'll let you go enjoy your Thursday. So what you can do with form templates, as you know, when you're creating a listing agreement, a lot of the information on every listing agreement is the same. So let's say you're entering in, about synthetic stucco, that doesn't apply, or your brokerage information, or your commission rate is generally the same, or if it's in a floodplain, so forth. Okay, whatever information is generally the same on every listing agreement, you can fill out in your templates one listing agreement and add that pre-filled out listing agreement to every future listing loop that you create, so that a lot of the forms or fields are already filled out for you, so you don't have to go type in all that information that's generally the same on every listing agreement, for example. Okay, so you can set up form templates, and that video I just sent you will show you exactly how to do that. Really great time saver for you to utilize. Okay, so check that out. It will really help you out and take your Dotloop experience to the next level. All right, guys, if you have any other questions at all, feel free to email me at support@scottleroymarketing.com. I'm definitely more than happy to help you with any Dotloop questions you may have, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Take care.